John Wayne Gacy was born on March 17, 1942, in Chicago, Illinois. He was the second of three children and the only son of John Stanley Gacy, a World War I veteran and auto repair machinist, and Marion Robinson, a homemaker. His childhood was dominated by fear. His father was abusive, physically and emotionally. He routinely beat his son and insulted him, calling him weak and worthless. At just 4 years old, Gacy was severely beaten for accidentally damaging car engine parts. He was later beaten again after being caught in a childhood sexual incident. As he grew older, Gacy suffered serious medical problems. He experienced blackouts caused by a heart condition and was hospitalized repeatedly. In 1957, he nearly died from a ruptured appendix. Despite these illnesses, his father accused him of faking symptoms. Between the ages of 14 and 18, Gacy spent nearly a year hospitalized and fell far behind in school. He never graduated high school. At 18, Gacy became involved in local Democratic Party politics as an assistant precinct captain. His father despised this, and their relationship deteriorated further. Gacy left home with just $136 and traveled to Las Vegas. He worked briefly as an ambulance attendant before being transferred to a mortuary, where he assisted with embalming and funeral services. For 3 months, he lived at the mortuary itself. One night, he climbed into a coffin with the body of a teenage boy. Afterward, he returned to Chicago. Back in Chicago, Gacy enrolled in business college and graduated in 1963. He took a management position with a shoe company and was later transferred to Springfield, Illinois. In 1964, he married co-worker Marlon Myers. Her father owned several Kentucky Fried Chicken restaurants, and Gacy was placed in charge of managing all three. He earned the equivalent of over $150,000 a year in today's money. They lived in her parents' former home, where Gacy created a basement club for employees to drink and socialize. He focused his attention on teenage male workers and began grooming them. At the same time, he joined the JCs and became deeply involved in community leadership. Publicly, Gacy was thriving. He became a respected JC leader, was honored for his work, and gained political influence. Privately, he was abusing teenage boys. In 1967, he sexually assaulted a teenage son of a fellow JC. Over the following months, he abused multiple youths, sometimes using alcohol, manipulation, and blackmail. Eventually, the crimes were reported. Gacy was arrested and charged with sexual assault. He denied all wrongdoing, claiming political persecution. A polygraph test indicated deception. In 1968, he was formally indicted. After attempting to intimidate a witness through hired assault, Gacy was arrested again and ordered to undergo psychiatric evaluation. Doctors diagnosed him with antisocial personality disorder. He was ruled mentally competent and convicted in December 1968. He was sentenced to 10 years in prison. His wife divorced him. He lost custody of his children and never saw them again. In prison, Gacy became a model inmate. He completed his high school diploma and worked as head cook. After serving only 18 months, he was granted parole. He returned to Chicago and promised he would never go back to prison. In 1971, Gacy founded PDM Contractors, a construction and remodeling business. He worked as a cook by day and ran construction jobs by night. That same year, he purchased a home at 8213 West Summerdale Avenue. He became known as a helpful neighbor. He loaned tools. He plowed snow for free. He hosted massive neighborhood parties attended by politicians and business leaders. He married Carol Hoff in 1972. By the mid-1970s, his business was generating hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, and that was when the killings began. Gacy's first known murder occurred on January 3, 1972. He picked up a teenage boy named Timothy McCoy at the Greyhound bus terminal and brought him home. By morning, McCoy was dead. Gacy buried him beneath his house. Over the next 6 years, he killed repeatedly. He posed as a police officer. He offered young men jobs. He lured them to his home. He restrained them with handcuffs. After killing them, he buried their bodies in the crawl space beneath his house or dumped them in nearby rivers. By his own later confession, he murdered at least 33 young men and boys. Above the crawl space, he hosted political fundraisers and community parties. Below it, bodies decomposed. By day, Gacy was a successful businessman. By night, he hunted. He joined a clown organization and performed at hospitals, parades, and children's events. He became known as Pogo the Clown. He was photographed with the First Lady of the United States. He was trusted. No one suspected what he was hiding. Gacy impersonated police officers to lure boys into his car. He offered work. He offered money. He offered protection. At his home, he restrained them under the pretense of a magic trick. His victims were tortured and killed. He stored bodies beneath his bed before burying them in the crawl space. He poured chemicals over the remains to accelerate decomposition. Dozens of families searched for their missing sons. None of them knew where to look. In December 1978, 15-year-old Robert Piest disappeared after telling his mother he was meeting a contractor about a job. The contractor was John Wayne Gacy. Police searched Gacy's home. They found identification cards, they found personal belongings, they found handcuffs, and they noticed the smell. Gacy was placed under surveillance. Days later, police searched again. This time, they found human remains. Over the following weeks, investigators recovered 29 bodies from beneath Gacy's home and 4 more from nearby rivers. Gacy confessed and led police to burial sites. At trial, his defense claimed insanity. The prosecution showed meticulous planning and concealment. The jury deliberated for just 2 hours. He was convicted of murdering 33 young men and boys. John Wayne Gacy spent 14 years on death row. On May 10, 1994, he was executed by lethal injection. His final words were defiant, but his crimes continue to haunt families and investigators to this day. Many of his victims remain unidentified, and his case remains one of the darkest chapters in American criminal history. John Wayne Gacy did not look like a monster. He looked like a neighbor, a volunteer, a businessman, a clown, and that is what made him so dangerous. Some pleaded, some froze in shock. Gacy enjoyed all of it. He enjoyed the fear, the confusion, the moment when they realized the man they trusted was not who he claimed to be. He controlled the room, and he decided when it ended. Afterward, he cleaned himself, showered, changed clothes. Then he dragged the body into the crawl space. He worked quickly, quietly, efficiently. The earth swallowed another secret. Then he went back upstairs and made himself a sandwich. To his neighbors, he was still John. The guy who waved from his porch, the guy who fixed fences, the guy who hosted barbecues. They never saw the blood. They never heard the screams. They never knew the floor beneath them was hollowed by death. But the families of the missing did know something was wrong. They felt it. Each disappearance was reported. Each case was logged. Each file was shelved. Detectives assumed the boys had run away, that they were living transient lives, that they didn't want to be found. This is not the story of a killer. This is the story of the boys he tried to erase. And as long as their names are spoken, as long as their lives are remembered, as long as their stories are told, he will never win. If you are watching this and thinking about the faces behind the names, then they are not forgotten. If you are thinking about the families who waited for answers, then they are not alone. And if you ever walk past a quiet house on a quiet street, remember, evil does not announce itself. It hides, it waits, and it depends on silence. So speak, remember, and never stop looking out for one another. Because the boys who vanished from Chicago deserved a future, and the only thing we can give them now is remembrance.